98.9 KETR, and Commerce is officially back in the playoff race, Grant, as they win last week over Emory Reigns 55-20. The issue now, though, is for the next two games. They've got to win out, most likely, and they've got Winnsboro and Mineola. So it's a tough road to hoe, but both of those teams have shown they have some weaknesses, too.
Yeah, you'd asked me, 2 or 3 weeks ago, whether or not these next two games starting this week are winnable, and I would say likely not. But let me tell you, Winnsboro, that's a winnable game. And then Mineola, who knows that Dawson Pendergrass is back, they haven't been lighting it up. All of a sudden now, Commerce takes it week to week and pulls off the win against Winnsboro this week. They're right back in it. And let me tell you, the way Commerce beat Reigns, 55-20 this past Friday. That's worse than what Winnsboro beat Reigns.
And what a game by Deshaun.
I know that's calibrating, but
that's what we do.
Right.
That's what we do is calibrating. What a game by Deshaun Jackson. Check out these stats. 9 carries, 225 yards. 4 touchdowns. That included a 75-yard rushing touchdown. Oh, he also had a 63-yard touchdown catch and a 75-yard touchdown pass. Oh, and he also had 15 tackles. Oh, he broke up 5 passes, too. He didn't get any interceptions, so he's not really that good of a performance. But no.
The Eagles won't take him back.
That is one of the best performances. I got you there. That was nice.
Yeah,
that was one of the best performances from a Commerce player in a long, long time. And he's, by the way, you can go to TexasFootball.com and vote him as the player of the week. By the way, a Royce City guy made it too. Their wide receiver, Jonah Robertson. We'll talk about them in a minute.
250 some odd yards receiving, right?
Yeah, y'all were in a definition of a shootout game. But going back here to 5-3 Division I, Mount Vernon, they lead the district, or them and Pottsboro lead the district together. Oh, by the way, they play this week. That might be a pretty good one. That game is in Pottsboro. I still feel that Pottsboro is closer to the team that whenever they've played really, really good teams, they've gotten their doors beat off. And I've seen Mount Vernon now 3 games, 1 live. I don't see Pottsboro beating Mount Vernon. In fact, I think this could get not ugly, but it could be a 3-touchdown game by the end of it.
I think so, too. And mainly it's not that offensively the problem with Pottsboro. They're putting up points, maybe against some lesser defenses. This is going to be a different animal. That Mount Vernon defense, though. So Pottsboro offensively might struggle, but still, that's not where I see the problem is. I see the problem is Pottsboro's just giving up a ton of yards and points right now.
Yeah, they gave up 37 to Bonham. Now, Bonham has scored a bunch against a lot of teams, so that's not a shame, but let's just go back and compare. Mount Vernon gave up 0 to Bonham. Mm-hmm. And when you look at, and we've talked about what Mount Vernon done offensively, but, man, defensively they're not getting enough credit. Do you know that on the year, Commerce has scored the most points in a game against Mount Vernon this year?
Really?
22 points.
Oh,
First off, the fact it's only 22 points is pretty dang good.
Yeah.
But their point total for Mount Vernon on the year is 18-6, 16-21, 22, 7-0, and 21. The only way I think Pottsboro could win this game is to get in a shootout, and Mount Vernon's defense has nobody's been able to get them in that shootout this year, and I just don't think Pottsboro will be able to either.
Yeah, and Mount Vernon, we've seen them once live and several times on film, on replay, and they take care of the ball, and that's one of the things that nobody talks about.
That's what they do better this year than they did last year, because last year they were really careless with the ball, but they made up for it with their athleticism.
Yeah, this year they are not turning the ball over, and they're getting a lot of takeaways on the defensive side, so that right there is kind of one of the keys to Mount Vernon's success this year. Not to mention that just running back, number 2, I can't remember his name, but man, that kid can go.
And they don't overuse him, or at least they didn't in the games we've seen. They use him until they don't need him, and they get him out. I mean, against Mineola, he went 5 and 6 possessions where he didn't even touch the field, and then it was like, okay, we haven't scored, let's roll him back out, and boom, they would score. Doesn't it feel like Mount Vernon kind of has taken the playbook from Jim Ned this year? Don't turn the ball over. Don't make mistakes.
And play solid defense.
Play solid defense, and if you win 28-0, great. If you win 68-0, great. But just win and get your guys. And we saw Mount Vernon live because we were standing on Mount Vernon's sideline. Man, they were running players in all game against Mineola. Everybody was staying fresh. And the other point of that is you're getting guys who you might need in the playoffs because of injuries. You're getting them snap times, and that's the kind of stuff that you can't replicate in practice.
Well, I mean, the depth. Mount Vernon's got to be one of the deepest 3A teams in Northeast Texas.
Yeah, I mean, they're a 3A team that looks like they have about a small 4A D1 roster almost.
Right.
That town, ever since, and Browse isn't there now, but that town, ever since Browse got there, they have bought into the football team. Not that Mount Vernon didn't support their team, but you normally went to a Mount Vernon game and they didn't have a big roster. And they didn't look like they were a bunch of 4As playing down at 3A. Something changed when Browse got there, and he started changing that culture. And the coaching staff that stayed after he left has continued that culture, and that's why they're 8-0. That's why they're ranked highly in the state. All right, the rest of this district, Mineola, they've got what I think could be a trap game if they don't watch it against Emory Rains, especially if Mineola is still kind of banged up. Emory Rains is not great this year. They're 2-5, but they've had the ability to stick with some teams for a little while. They actually stuck with Mount Vernon for a little while until the third quarter. Same thing against Winnsboro. And Mineola, man, they've been trading down, and this just feels like one of those. We're going to look at the score and be surprised at how close it is.
Yeah, I think it could be a little bit closer than what a lot of the pundits say, but I still think Mineola wins this ball game by 10 to 14 points, though.
Bonham, they're in the playoff race. I think they were a little bit disappointed in how they played Pottsboro. They got in the shootout, but Bonham's defense, which has been the weak point all year, gave up too many points, 58-37. But right now, they're still in control of their playoff lives because they beat Commerce, and that's so huge when it comes to tiebreakers. In fact, what Commerce needs to happen is they really kind of need Mineola to win this week, and then Commerce can beat them next week and create a log jam of teams at the playoff or for that fourth spot, or third and fourth spot, I should say.
See, they've got so Bonham has Howell tonight, and then Rains next week. Is
yes.
that right? Okay.
And I'm going to say they're going to win out and probably comfortably at that and be 5-3 in district.
Yeah, me too.
And so for Commerce, you really need to win out and be matching them, or and that includes beating Mineola, which again could cause a logjam. And let's not forget,
Winnsboro. They got a point differential, I guess.
Well,
right?
I don't know, because we're talking about it. It could end where we have 4 teams sitting in that last 2 spots for the playoffs because Winnsboro's still there. Winnsboro lost to Bonham, and that's the big thing right now. But if it's Winnsboro and Bonham, well, then Bonham goes in as your third place. And, and who in the other district, man? Gladewater versus Winnsboro. That all of a sudden is a tasty sounding game. Could the same thing happen to Gladewater 2 years in a row, where the fourth place team in the district you're playing beats you, but they're not really a fourth place team?
Right.
But anyway, so the rest of the district, the standings go: Pottsboro 5-0, as we talked about; Mineola 3-2, Bonham 2-3, Commerce 2-3, Winnsboro 2-3, Emory Rains 1-5. Howe is the only team that is officially eliminated. Everybody else, now for a couple of teams like Howe and Emory Rains, they need a lot of. Emory Rains and Winnsboro and Commerce, they need help, but they're all still eligible for the playoffs. That's how good this district has been this year. All right, let's move over to 8-5A Division II, where your Royce City Bulldogs, boy, they were in a basketball game last week against Crandall as they outlast Crandall 65-63 to stay unbeaten on the season and in district. There was a 1,400 yards of total offense. As we talked about, wide receiver Jonah Robertson had 10 catches, 255 yards, and 4 touchdowns receiving. I have to admit, I'm surprised that Royce City's defense, and I know Crandall has a good offense, but I didn't see Crandall being able to score at will on Royce City this game.
No, I thought Royce City's defense had played well all year for the most part. But I do understand giving up some points to a high-powered Crandall offense who has been putting up big numbers all year, but to the tune of 63 points, I think it was? Is 65, 63? Yeah, giving up 63 points, this makes you scratch your head a little bit.
Well, and you're scratching your head as you go into this game for the district championship. Royce City tonight host Ennis. Last year, this game was much anticipated, and Ennis rolled 71-18. I don't think it'll be like that in any way, but I do think it's not going to shock me if Ennis has won by 3 touchdowns. And that's nothing against Royce City.
Right.
I think Royce City's a team with the right draw could end up playing Ennis again in the playoffs. The issue is Ennis is just head and shoulders above everybody.
Yeah, it's Ennis and then kind of everybody else battling out after that. But I will say this, Royce City is good enough that if Ennis puts the ball on the ground a couple of times, has a bunch of penalties, and does not play a clean game, Royce City could walk out with the home win. They're gonna need some help, but if Ennis gives that to them, I think Royce City can do it. Only other way is if that Royce City defense just bows up about 10 times more than they did last week against Crandall. I think Royce City will be able to move the football on Ennis. Will it be consistent? I don't know, but I think they will be able to move the football. It's just how much is that defense going to help the offense out?
And to be fair, I think Royce City was going up against an extremely desperate Crandall team who now, after that loss, has lost 3 in a row. And they went from a team that was talking about playing Ennis for the district championship to a team now that has to go on the road this week and play Corsicana and beat Corsicana for any hope of making the playoffs. And that's how this district is this year. Crandall, after September 24th, had just beat North Forney 71-43, and they're sitting there 2-0 in district, and everybody's already talking about, wow, look at this path, and if they get the second spot, they could do this, this, and this. Well, here we are now, and all of a sudden, Corsicana seems that they've kind of figured things out. They're 3-2 in district, but you know what? Those are their only losses of the year. For all the talk of Corsicana sure has struggled this year, they keep winning. They're 6-2.
Yes, you're right, and I think they have figured it out, but was it too late? Because these last 2 games right now, they're going to be hard pressed.
Well, I mean, if they beat Crandall, they're in the playoffs. Even if they lose to Ennis next week, they'll have the tiebreaker.
Do you think they have the horses to beat a high scoring Crandall team?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, they're not putting up like just
But their last 2 games
row numbers.
No, but their last 2 games have been 2 of their highest offensive outputs, 42 and 43. I think Corsicana is feeling better about themselves than Crandall. Corsicana is on a 3-game winning streak, while Crandall's on a 3-game losing streak. I think going into Corsicana is going to be tough. This isn't a Crandall team that has a ton of playoff or big game experience. I don't know. I've kind of flipped on this one, and
Corsicana hasn't had that either as of late.
No, you're right. They haven't, but I kind of feel like
sometimes I think the Hal Wasson factor, not bashing coaches or anything, but sometimes Hal Wasson will make that decision late in the ball game, and boom, there it is.
You're not wrong on that, and I think this is
and he's a terrific coach. Don't get me wrong, but I've seen some Mike McCarthy things.
Mike McCarthy time issues
late in the ball game.
But I do think that this was a game 2 weeks ago. I thought Crandall would probably name their score. I'm not so sure now.
I don't think they named their score, no, but I do think that Crandall, to me, is a good 7 to 14 point favorite.
I think they should be. I think it'll be closer. I have Crandall winning, but I think it's going to be like a possession. And so what is your idea, going back to, what is your idea on Ennis Royce City? Where are you seeing that score at?
I see that score being like a 35-21, 35-28
See, I kind of feel that way.
Ennis's favor. I think if Royce City is able to keep Ennis under 28, then I think they got a puncher's chance. They give them 28 or more, then I think Royce City might be in trouble. Because let's not forget, this Ennis defense is pretty good.
And I don't feel like Royce City's played their best game yet. I feel like that's very impressive to be 8-0, but outside of the awesome numbers from the last game, most of their games have just been kind of there. They've won. They've taken care of business. There hasn't been anything special. I don't think that's a bad thing, though. And I think Royce City could be playing their best football at the right time. The problem is Ennis, I think, is playing as good as well. Forney, I'm telling you what, Forney right now, I think, is walking into a trap this weekend. And they're playing in Sulphur Springs. And Sulphur Springs has struggled this year. And Sulphur Springs...
Is it because they have Royce City next week? Is that why they're looking ahead, or what do you think?
I just think that if you look at some of these Sulphur Springs scores, they lost to Royce City 42-28 in a game that they were in for most of the game. They lost to Corsicana 42-38 in a game that they were in most of the game. They lost to Kaufman, a good 4A team, by 2. They lost to Crandall 57-34, but at one point that game was 28-28. I think Sulphur Springs is just a better team than their score. I think they're missing a couple key pieces that has not allowed them to push some of these games over the top. But here's the thing. Forney is doing a great job. Jeff Fleener has come in and done an amazing job for this program. But this is still a program that for the last 3 years were 5-23 combined record. Wow. Some of that's still there. Yeah. And some of that will pop up. And one of the biggest ways that usually pop up is when an upstart team goes on the road and plays a team that they should beat, they tend to struggle. And I just also think Sulphur Springs is flat out a better team than their 0-8 record. I think Forney will win, but don't be shocked if this is a one-possession game.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got Caddo Mills. We've got Quinlan Ford with the big win. We're also going to talk Wolf City Cooper and so much more right here on Sideline to Sideline, part of the Big Friday Night Scoreboard Show, right here on your station, 88.9 KETR.
For 50 years, listeners like you have made everything you hear from NPR possible. Support us now and for the next 50 years by giving to this station. Here's how.
Just point a browser to ketr.org and then click the donate button at the top of the page. And thanks. Hi, Jared Knight with your station, 88.9 KETR. Part of my job here is to work with sponsors to come up with a customized plan just for their marketing needs. It's easy and affordable. Contact me today online at support@ketr.org.
November 1st begins the Mexican observance of Day of the Dead. It's a tribute to departed loved ones and a celebration of life. This Sunday, you'll hear some upbeat, joyful choral music by a terrific Mexican composer of the Baroque era. It's on Sunday Baroque this weekend. Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on KETR.
News, sports, music, and talk for Northeast Texas. 88.9 KETR, Commerce.
All right, studio, here goes 1, 2, and 5, 4, 3, 2. Terry, been a great good back, sideline to sideline. Part of the Big Friday Night Scoreboard Show right here on your station, 88.9 KETR. I want to remind everybody you can follow Grant and I on Twitter, @Grant and Terry. You can like us on Facebook. Just type in Sideline to Sideline. You can email us, grantandterry@LoneStarGoodIron.com. You can also hear our weekly 4A and 3A show. It's on LoneStarGoodIron.com or any podcast platform. All right, let's turn our attentions over to what has become just an absolutely fun district. That's 6-4A Division II. Quinlan Ford announced themselves on the stage last week.
Can I tell you something?
What?
Quinlan Ford, does anybody realize this? That Quinlan Ford has actually announced themselves on the national stage. As I was doing research for our Sideline to Sideline 4A show, yesterday, Sunday, whenever, I found out that Quinlan Ford leads the nation in rushing yards per game. The whole country. That's the United States of America, sir. Not the area, not the state, the country.
Chris Island would be proud.
Which would be actually probably all of North America, because let's face it, who runs more than 526 yards a game in Mexico or
in Canada?
Canada, right? Chuba Hubbard maybe did.
Hey, Chuba Hubbard, Oklahoma State.
That's right.
Nice
but
one.
yeah, Quinlan leads the nation in rushing yards per game. Man, Quinlan ran for 526 yards against Sunnyvale.
Good Sunnyvale defense, folks.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Donovan Williams ran for 337 yards, 3 touchdowns on 22 carries.
You look at what they've done all year. Their points scored 47, 48, 58, 58, 50, 68, 62, and 40. So I would say Sunnyvale was probably the best team they've played to date, and that they still scored 40 on them.
Yeah.
Now, they've got to be consistent because, this week they've got Caddo Mills, and Caddo Mills seems to be kind of finding themselves a little bit after, they started off kind of slow, then we thought that they were going to be in control of the district, and then Sunnyvale just thumped them 47-7. If Caddo Mills wants to still have a piece of the district championship and that #1 seed, they've got to go to Quinlan Ford, and they've got to beat a Panther team that all of a sudden feels like maybe a 2-touchdown favorite in this game.
Yeah, at least a touchdown, right?
Yeah.
Maybe 2. But, you're right, though. Ever since that Sunnyvale loss, Caddo has kind of left no doubt as they've bounced back.
Yeah, and that's good to see.
Putting up good points.
And we've got to see how Quinlan Ford reacts. Sunnyvale had to be a big game for them. And now they've got another big game this week, and they're going to finish with a big game next week. And so this is where we learn that there's a lot of
the meat of Quinlan's schedule.
Yes, the last 3 games counting last week, and this is where we're going to see where Quinlan is. Quinlan's made the playoffs, but where they will fall, I personally think they're going to run the table. I think this Panther team might be coming out of this bottom half of this bracket and playing themselves in the region semifinals and region finals. I mean, I think they've put together a body of work now against some solid teams and against some bad teams to where you can say that they're, at least if nothing else, they have been consistent this year. They go out.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I say they go out and they run the ball really, really well. Not only do they put up a bunch of yards, but let's talk about this defensively. They've given up 33, 14, 43, but here's the last 5 games. 12, 0, 7, 0, and 21 against a solid Sunnyvale offense. So we're also seeing this Panther defense starting to round in the form.
Yeah, and I know we're still 2 weeks away from playoff brackets and draws and all that stuff, but if Quinlan does win out, goes into the number 1 seed, they've got a winnable by-district game because it's District 7, which is Van, Bullard, Canton, and Brownsboro. Van's the only one that scares me in that district, right? I don't think Bullard, Canton, or Brownsboro would be anything that Quinlan couldn't handle.
Yeah, and as Quinlan's going right now, they won't see Van in that first round. Brownsboro, though, that's a team that's interesting, kind of cheating a little bit, but we're talking about a district and play district.
Brownsboro's not any better than Caddo.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. No, but I'm just saying, just looking over 7-4 Division II, how surprising is Brownsboro? Sunnyvale beat them earlier in the year 49-14, and they looked like they were dead to rights, and yet they pulled off the big upset against Canton last week. Canton, it looked like we were having a Van Zant, showdown, Canton versus Van for the district title. Brownsboro's adding their name into it. But back over here in 6-4 Division II, let's also talk about Sunnyvale, because Sunnyvale last week, they get beat 40-21. It felt like after they beat Community 36-0, it kind of felt like Sunnyvale had righted the ship and everything was okay. Now they lose to Quinlan Ford. They're still in great spot, at least for the number 2 seed.
Yeah, because they got Wills Point tonight. I think that's definitely winnable. And then they finish off with Farmersville, who's better but still struggling.
Yeah, but all of a sudden, Farmersville finds themselves sitting right here in that 4th playoff spot, technically. Their problem is, though, is they haven't played the teeth of the district as far as, well, I say that. They played Quinlan Ford and Caddo, but they still have Nevada Community and Sunnyvale. Now, let me ask you, Grant, is this Nevada Community team, something doesn't seem right? It's not that they've lost the last 2 weeks to Sunnyvale and Caddo Mills. It's the fact that they've lost by scoring 10 points in 2 combined games. I don't know if it's an injury or something, but something has changed offensively for the Braves.
Yeah, I expected them to play Caddo closer. Not necessarily win, but play Caddo closer. But losing by 20. I don't know what's going on.
All of a sudden, that game this week against Farmersville, again, talking about Farmersville, 2 weeks ago, I'd have said Nevada Community names their score. Now, I still think they win, but I think as you were talking about, like,
Jared,
if Nevada Community comes in and isn't running the ball again, or they're putting the ball on the ground, I think Farmersville's got some momentum, and they could easily pull off what would be the upset.
Yeah, it would be an upset. Yes, I think the Farmers are capable of doing it. Will they? I don't know. It is at home, but, heck, that's almost a home game for Community as well.
Yeah, that's true. So, all right, let's turn our attention to 6-2A Division I. And, boy, this one, look at what the Celeste Blue Devils. They keep on winning as the Blue Devils beat Como-Picton 27-11. That's 4 straight after losing that game against Cooper 26-24. Grant, Celeste is 6-2, and their 2 losses to Munster and to Cooper. And the Munster game was 38-12, but it was 21-12 at one point in that game.
Have you seen what Munster's been doing for the rest of the year?
Rolling.
Yeah.
And you're starting to wonder, we talked about this at the beginning of the year, like, did we see any team that could have a chance in the region past the playoffs? And you and I both felt that Cooper probably had your best chance, with Wolf City maybe, if they could figure some things out. I think you have to add Celeste in that, and I think now we have to legitimately think that this district might win 2 of the playoff games. They might even pull a 3rd one, depending on Wolf City. But either way, Celeste, congratulations, 6-2. We have a friend of ours that coaches there, Keontae. He's there at Celeste, and he likes to listen to us when he can on Sideline to Sideline, but also here on KTR. But Celeste is 4-1. They finished the year. They're actually, this is their last week. They finished against Wolf City. That game is in Celeste. Wolf City, of course, is 5-1 overall, but more importantly, 4-0 in district. They had a bye this past week. 2 weeks ago, they beat Como-Picton. And I'm going to go ahead and nominate Como-Picton as the hard luck team of 2A this year. They're 2-6. They've lost games in district by the score of 18-13, 27-11, 19-13, and 28-14.
Wow.
They're in every game. They just can't quite win. But anyway, what is your thoughts on Celeste Wolf City?
I was asking you first. What do you think?
I like what Celeste is doing.
I do too.
Wolf City this year, they're winning. They're 5-1. the only decisive game was the one they lost, 43-7 to Leonard. They beat Alba Golden 27-20, beat Rivercrest 38-27, beat Honeygrove 26-21, and then Como Picton 18-13. So they've beaten all the bottom teams in the district, but none of those scores are like wow me scores.
Right.
I kind of feel like Wolf City's going to end up being the third place team in this district. I like Celeste in this game, and Celeste might end up winning this by a couple touchdowns.
I don't know. I think it could be a little bit closer than that. I think it's 7 to 10 points at most, 10 at most.
I could see that. Either way, all three of these three teams are in the playoffs. Celeste, Cooper, and Wolf City. They've all clinched the spot. They're just now playing for positioning, which is oh so important. Cooper, they go on.
And this will be Celeste's last game as well.
Yes, this will be Celeste's last game. They're going they'll be sitting and watching next week, seeing what all happens.
And Wolf City has Cooper next week.
Yeah, okay. They have Cooper next week. This week, Cooper has Como Picton. That game is at home. I'm curious to see this game again because just how everybody else is kind of never put Como Picton completely away. I want to see if Cooper does, because I kind of feel like they're going to. I still feel like the Bulldogs are head and shoulders above everybody else in this district.
Yeah.
But the good thing is I think both Cooper and Wolf City and Celeste, though, they've all been a little bit better than we thought. Like I said, I now legitimately feel like two teams from this district could advance past the first round, when at the beginning of the year, we were kind of like, maybe the Bulldogs, maybe, but they have really bounced back. And again, you start to wonder if Cooper gets that good draw. They're familiar going 2 and 3 rounds deep in the playoffs, and I could see them doing that again.
Yeah, me too.
All right, let's look at some other teams in 6-2A Division I. You got Alba Golden. They're still technically in it. In fact, right now, if the season ended, they would take the last playoff spot. This is a very top-heavy district. You've got the three teams that are 6-2, 8-0, and 5-1. Then everybody else 4-4, 2-7, 2-6, 2-6. I like Alba Golden to win this week against Honeygrove. I think Alba Golden's probably going to be the fourth-place team. They finished with Honeygrove. They finished with Como Picton. Honeygrove could give them a battle because, again, Honeygrove is 1-3 in district, but
they're kind of like Como Picton, though. They've been in it.
This whole district's kind of like that, actually. Yeah. You know, everybody is within 2 or 3 possessions of each other. Celeste, though, did kind of thump them, as did Cooper. I think going into Alba Golden, I just think Alba Golden's played a better schedule on the year, and they've had better results. You know, Alba Golden came into district with only one loss. That was the Prairie Land. They beat Big Sandy. They beat Union Grove. They beat Cumbie. They've lost to Wolf City 27-20, Celeste 44-21, and then Cooper thumped them. But I like Alba Golden in this game. But I'm saying that if Honeygrove wins, it's going to throw this whole the bottom 4 place.
District committee would hate that, right?
Oh, yeah, because there is a chance, and I think a valid chance with who everybody plays, there's a chance that we're going to have 3 teams for that last spot. The only team that's out is Como Picton. Everybody else is still in play, and everybody, when I mean everybody, I mean Alba Golden, Rivercrest, and Honeygrove, they're all within 1 game of each other. So, and what happens if Celeste with one?
Well, I tell you what you need to do if you're one of those 3 teams that are fighting for that 4th spot. Your next 2 games, you better win by as many points as you can, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if they have a cap.
You're not going to be kneeling on the 1-yard line if you're ahead by 4 touchdowns. You're going to score and go for 2.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And the good thing is, though, is all these teams in this little threesome right here with Alba Golden, Rivercrest, and Honeygrove, they all play one another. And so that all happens in the next 2 weeks.
So it's going to sort itself out for the most part?
Yeah, it's going to sort itself out for the most part. Rivercrest already has a loss to Alba Golden, so the Alba Golden wants his little teams. In fact, their perfect world would be them and Rivercrest to tie for the spot, and they'll move on for advancement. But Rivercrest, they have Honeygrove, and as we talked about, Honeygrove and Alba Golden's this week, and then Honeygrove next week. So yeah, all 3 teams are in it, and all 3 teams will have played each other in the last 2 weeks. I still believe it's going to be Cooper, Celeste, Wolf City, and then Alba Golden for the 4 teams going from 6-2A Division I.
That would appear to be right now.
All right, that's going to do it for this week. Again, I want to remind everybody you can hear Grant and I each and every week on LoneStarGridiron.com, Sideline to Sideline, the Class 3A and 4A show. Plus, we're on all podcast platforms. You can email us, Grant and Terry, at LoneStarGridiron.com. Follow us on Twitter, at Grant and Terry. Like us on Facebook. Just type in Sideline to Sideline. That's Week 10, Week 11. We'll talk about it next week right here on Sideline to Sideline, part of the Big Friday Night Scoreboard Show on your station, 88.9 KETR. All right, guys.
cities around the globe, women are making a difference through actions and viewpoints. I'm Allison Dunn, and each week on 51%, I'll bring you into these women's lives, whether at home, in politics, through the arts, or anywhere else, as we learn about the insightful, quirky, and heartbreaking stories that make us who we are and help us to appreciate others.
Tomorrow afternoon at 12:30 on 88.9 KETR.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, it's important to take steps to help stop the spread. Follow 5 tips to help protect yourself and others. 1. Wear a mask. 2. Practice social distancing. Stay at least 6 feet apart from others. 3. Wash hands with soap and water. 4. If you have symptoms, stay home. 5. Get vaccinated as soon as you can. Together, we can help stop the spread.
Friday night scoreboard program right here on your station, 88.9 KETR. I'm Ryan Fulkerson, joined in studio by Jared Knight, and we've made some upgrades to the video stream for anybody who's watching on Facebook or YouTube.
Yeah, we have.
We've got some great things in store for you guys tonight, especially once we get out to the field. We've got some great cinematography done by Kevin Jeffries, but of course, it's a football Friday night first and foremost. Jared, you want to start off by reading some matchups that we've got?
I thought I might, if it's all right with you, Ryan.
Go right ahead.
Actually, I was going to mention that there was I think I learned earlier in the evening that there was a game that had been played yesterday, Wiley East at Paris. And so if anybody's going to be listening along tonight, looking for that Wiley East at Paris game, that one was played on a Thursday night, and so I want to make sure that we know that the Wiley Paris Wildcats won that one 35-14 over Wiley East. So there's a final we're already passing along here. What will be the big Friday night scoreboard program this evening. So we got some games that we're going to be following tonight. These are the ones on the big board. These are the ones that we're going to be keeping our finger on the pulse of. If you too would like to help us, you can do that. It's very simple and easy to do. All you have to do. And now, Ryan, you're back in the chair.
I am.
Which means that I could have folks to call you if they wanted to at 800-882-KETR. That's 800-882-5387, right?
That's correct. It's also 800 Tub Jets, if that's how you want to remember it.
100 Tub Jets is exactly what I was forgetting to say.
That's the key.
903-751-5145. That's the text number. If you'd like to text the radio station, you can text us. What did I say?
903-751-5145. That's right.
So, yeah. We both
in
got it
stereo.
Right. We both got it right. I don't know what's going on there with
your webcam.
I don't know.
Is having an episode here. How about I start reading some games off, and you can see if you can address that. Starting off at the top of the list, of course, tonight is senior night in Commerce, America, where the Winnsboro Raiders even are coming to town to, of course, face the Commerce Tigers at Memorial Stadium. John Mark Dempsey and Kevin Jeffries are on the scene at that one, and they'll have the full call of the game for you here in about 5 minutes or so. So I better hurry this up. Number 14, the Rockwall Yellow Jackets are on the road tonight facing the Mesquite Horn Jaguars. The Fruitvale Bobcats, they travel to face the Union Hill Bulldogs. Leverett Chapel, the Lions, are at home tonight facing the Campbell Indians. The Tioga Bulldogs over the Tom Bean Tomcats. Not over, they host the Tom Bean Tomcats. The Fannondale Falcons, they travel tonight to face the Bears of Goldberg. The North Forney Falcons, they're on the road to face the Greenville Lions tonight. The number 6 Rockwall Heath Hawks, they are at home defending against the Tyler Legacy Red Raiders. The number 4 Ennis Lions on the road at the Royce City Bulldogs. That should be an interesting matchup. Royce City, I believe, is undefeated still on the season. Even this late into the season, we've got 1 week left of regular season high school football. Isn't that crazy, folks? Moving on, we've got the Forney Jackrabbits. They travel to face the Sulphur Springs Wildcats tonight in a 5-3A Division I matchup. The Mineola Yellow Jackets are on the road at the Rains Wildcats. The Farmersville Farmers tonight, they host the Community Braves at home out in Farmersville. And this one, an interesting game. The Caddo Mills Foxes, they travel to face the Quinlan Ford Panthers. What makes this interesting is that Quinlan Ford leads the nation in rushing yards this season. That is on a national scale. They have the most rushing yards out of any high school football team. So should be a treat especial for anybody out there in Quinlan tonight. The Sunnyvale Raiders, they travel to face the Wills Point Tigers tonight. The Liberty Ilo Leopards, they're at home hosting the Pleasant Grove Hawks. The North Lamar Panthers, they travel to face the number 2 Gilmer Buckeyes. The number 4 Mount Vernon Tigers match up against the Pottsboro Cardinals in Pottsboro. That one a 5-3A Division I matchup. White right, the Tigers, they travel to face the Bells Panthers tonight. The Lone Oak Buffaloes, they're on the road at the number 2 Gunner Tigers. The Howe Bulldogs at home against the Bonham Purple Warriors. That one also a 5-3A Division I matchup. S&S Consolidated Rams, they're on the road at the Leonard Tigers. The Alba Golden Panthers host the Honey Grove Warriors tonight. The Cooper Bulldogs are at home against the Como Picton Eagles. The Wolf City Wolves travel to face the Celeste Blue Devils. The James Bowie Pirates, they are on the road at the Cumbie Trojans. The Detroit Eagles are on the road at the Bulls Hornets. And that is the list of games on the big Friday night scoreboard this weekend, this week.
Yeah, week. We're here on a football Friday night. It does kick off the weekend. And
That's
I think
true.
That, we couldn't be more ready for what is now. This is week 10. We will have a week 11. And then we'll be watching as we can to see how many teams go into a postseason here in Northeast Texas that we will be following on a football Friday night. We're looking forward to finding that information, sharing it along with you. Hey, we are tonight streaming on not only KETR.org, where we always stream, we're also on your favorite smart speaker. So if you've got one at your house you want to talk to, just say, hey, stream or play KETR. It'll work for you. We've also got a stream working at Facebook.com/KETR Radio. Mm-hmm. We've also got a stream working at YouTube. Just search KETR Radio or KETR FM. You can find us on YouTube as well. You'll be able to watch tonight's football game in addition to listening. Of course, as you know, John Mark Dempsey and Kevin Jeffries with the call of the game, as they have for so many years here on 88.9 KETR, who do such a fine job of describing the action that you can use your mind's eye to watch the game on 88.9 KETR, as most folks do all the time anyway. But we do have a video broadcast available for you, a video cast, a stream, if you poke on over to Facebook.com/KETR Radio. And I'm seeing that, on the stream there, that the poll tonight about who's going to win is still up there. So I guess if you want to see more, you better go vote in order to clear that thing. Anyhow, and so we'll be getting you out to Memorial Stadium with John Mark Dempsey and Kevin Jeffries here very shortly. But we are looking forward to a big football Friday night. Stick around after the game. We'll be carrying scores throughout the game, live updated scores throughout the game of these 25, 26 games that we're following tonight. And, of course, we'll wrap up with the big Friday night scoreboard program, which is coming a little bit later on this evening here on a football Friday night.
That's right. Right now on the campus of Texas A&M University Commerce, the KTR Sports Center, 63 degrees and clear lows tonight, getting down to a brisk 41 degrees. So you might need a jacket in the stands of your favorite football event tonight. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break before we get everybody out to Memorial Stadium with John Mark Dempsey and Kevin Jeffries. It's your station, 88.9 KETR.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Lenore with your health tip of the day from the African American Wellness Project. While coronavirus infections could go down over the next few months, we're still headed into season. Millions of Americans will be affected by the flu. But the good news is that we do have a safe and effective vaccine. But sadly, too many people go unvaccinated, especially African Americans. For more about flu vaccine, talk to your doctor or visit aawellnessproject.org.
He was the white guy who drove the team van to shuttle Latin American prospects to the Tampa Bay Rays training complex. He couldn't speak much to his passengers. He didn't know the language. What a difference a few years have made. I'm David Brown. We'll meet the Astros' unlikely translator playing a key behind-the-scenes role in the World Series. Found in translation on the next Texas Standard. Monday morning at 10 on 88.9 KETR.
From A&M Commerce Memorial Stadium and Ernest Hawkins Field, the Commerce Tigers meet the Winnsboro Red Raiders in a District 5 3A Division I game with playoff implications for each team. Good evening, everybody. I'm John Mark Dempsey along with Kevin Jeffries, and we'll have the play-by-play and color of tonight's game for you. Jared Knight and Ryan Fulkerson will have scores from all over Northeast Texas and beyond all evening on the big Friday night scoreboard. Commerce Tigers football on KETR is supported by the Cypress Bank of Commerce, Lauren Laddie with Edward Jones Investments, and Bedco, the Bonham Economic Development Corporation, and the City of Bonham. The Tigers are 3-5 and 2-3 in district play after a 55-20 win over the Raines Wildcats last week. Suddenly, the Tigers are in the playoff picture, tied with Winnsboro and Bonham for fourth place in the district with 2-3 records. 4 teams go to the playoffs. Last week's win saw a jaw-dropping performance by Tiger Jr. Deshaun Jackson. 225-yard rush on 9 carries from the Wildcat formation. 4 rushing TDs, a 75-yard TD pass, a 63-yard TD reception, and, oh, by the way, 15 tackles,
hey,
5 pass breakups.
And I believe voting is still open to vote for him to be Player of the Week at Dave Campbell's Texas Football Player of the Week. Iron Man player, what was the exact?
Mr. Texas Football.
Mr. Texas Football, yeah.
Right, and he is the Built Ford Tough 3A Player of the Week on Valley Sports this week, which is Valley Sports is the big cable TV sports network, so it was a remarkable thing. Year-old John McSheffrey, coordinator for 3 seasons under former head coach Cody Farrell. John was a major contributor to the Sulphur Springs Wildcats 2008 state championship team, and he's been named by Texas football as one of the young coaches under age 40 in Texas. A nod to Tigers history, Commerce has won 2 state football championships in 1999 under Steve Lineweaver and in 2001 under Terry Crone. And Commerce has 19 district championships, and it's 529, 505, and 45 all-time, a 511 winning percentage. We'll hear from Tigers head coach John Jeffrey when Tigers football continues after this on 88.9.
Support for KETR comes from its members and from Cypress Bank, offering both deposit and loan products, including checking, online banking, ATMs, and the Cypress Check Card. Family financial centers located in Commerce, Mount Pleasant, Pittsburgh, and Lone Star. Equal housing lender and member FDIC. Find more information at cypressbanktx.com.
Support for sports broadcasts on 89 KTR comes from Bedco, the Bonham Economic Development Corporation, and the City of Bonham. Bedco has partnered with the Fannin County Workforce Center, offering job and career opportunities. Info at 903-640-0222 or workforcesolutionsTexoma.com.
Want to reach more than 10 counties and 500,000 potential listeners here in Northeast Texas with your business services? Contact us for a customized, affordable sponsorship option for your business or organization. Reach out to support@ketr.org.
Visiting with John McJeffrey, head coach of the Commerce Tigers, before this important game with Winnsboro Raiders district game here at Ernest Hawkins Field tonight. The win last week over Raines, I'm not surprised that you guys won that game, but to win it the way you did, I think was eye-opening.
Yeah, absolutely. We came out and executed really well offensively, defensively, improved dramatically, and so I think the kids are starting to figure it out a little bit and see what they're capable of doing.
Have you ever seen an offensive night and defensive night like the one that Deshaun Jackson had last week?
No, sir. I think that was a special night from him. When you count for 6 touchdowns and 15 tackles and 5 pass breakups, it's just like, okay, I'm glad he's on our team. And and he was honored with the Forward Player of the Week every day, and so that's a great award for him, especially as a junior. And so hopefully he keeps having some special nights like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a pleasant thing to contemplate that he will be back next season. You've got quite a few kids coming back next year that are, very major contributors.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be having a lot of experience, and hopefully we're learning these lessons, like we did early in the season. But after that, they just carry it forward, and we keep executing like we are.
You all are really almost look like a different team when you're in that Wildcat with him